Today is a very special day, and tell us why, Wolfie.
Welcome. We've got a series of CEO interviews, and we're going to start it with Mat Ratty from Adveritas. He's kindly joined us today to have a chat about the company, maybe find a little bit more about himself. Because remember, probably the most important thing, Dave, for me, is in the company management, right? So our idea is always, we might have a look through the products, we might have a look at what they do, growth, whatever, but it's almost like the Titanic, right? You put in wrong people in there and it's going to get an iceberg and sink. So Wolf, for me, very, very important.
And this CEO, he's incredibly well, he's got qualifications. He's got a degree in finance, which neither of us have got.
I know. Well, we've got a qualification in anything, Dave. So, it's just pretty much we're bumbling along the line, pretend to be intelligent and use other people work. I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah, talk about yourself. I got my Scouts, I think, chess award. It's not terrible. I'm not with that.
Anyway, welcome, Matty. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well. Thanks for having me on the show.
No worries. So look, I'm just going to quickly read out your bio, just to give the audience an idea exactly where you come from. So I'm just going to read this out. To be honest, I didn't memorize this because my memory is so bad that I can't even remember what happened yesterday. So apologies for that. But so Matt has been in digital ad tech for the last 7 years. Prior to being a CEO of Adveritas, he was involved in a mobile ad network, which ran traffic for the likes of Uber, EA Games, and EA Games. I'm a big gamer, Matty. So I'm following some of the stocks that on the stock market that are doing quite well for us. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. But also we're looking at another major companies. He's also active a technology investor, having invested in a large number of companies over the last 10 years. He has led the strategy of bringing Adveritas' main product, TrafficGuard, to market. He holds a degree in finance, like Dave said, with first-class honors. TrafficGuard is a multi-pull award-winning fraud prevention product recognized by the Drum Martech Breakthrough Awards 2020 and voted the most effective anti-fraud solution by mobile market in 2020 and 2021. So sounds very, very interesting, Matty. So I mean, obviously, let's start straight away. Just a little bit more about yourself, I suppose, who you are. Can you please?
Sure. So, as you said before, like I've been in ad tech now for around about 7 years. And I've been the CEO of this company for around 3 of those years. And I run a very talented and skilled 40 staff member base. If you ask them, they'll tell you that I've earned the nickname, like TrafficGuard's crazy CEO. But that's because, I follow the same routine every day, essentially, right? And that routine is that I wake up at 4:45 a.m. every morning without fail and work through to around about 10 p.m. each night. It's just what happens when you run a global company at this stage of its life cycle. A little bit more about me, like I'm one of those crazy people who don't eat for 17 hours of the day just because it just brings me so much more, I know, right? Brings me so much more mental clarity. But everything about my life right now is ensuring that this business is going to be a global success, right? Like at the end of the day, as a chief executive, you are the custodian of shareholder wealth. So every day when you make decisions, you keep that in the back of your head, whether you're scaling out, whether you're employing new staff, whether you are, buying new machinery or computing for your staff, you're always the custodian of shareholder wealth. So in the time that I do have outside of TrafficGuard, which isn't very long, but in the time that I do have outside of it, I spend it just with friends and family. I work out every day for 30 minutes without fail, again, just to keep mental clarity. And I also.
Why you look so young?
That's why I look so young, but it must be this Zoom thing. I'm going to start speed dating on Zoom from now on.
Matt, I must be honest. Me and Wolf, we work out. We do work out hard, don't we, Wolf?
Can you see? I mean, I had a shave like 2 days ago, so I look pretty young compared to you, Dave.
Well, I would. Yeah, I used to run a lot, but recently, Wolf, under lockdown, I've been a little bit. I've been a little bit slack.
So it sounds like you're pretty bloody busy, pretty much. I mean, that's it's taking a lot part of your majority of your life. This TrafficGuard and obviously Adveritas job.
Yeah, 99% of my life is dedicated to TrafficGuard.
All right. So can you please tell us a little bit more about how you became the CEO of Adveritas? So just walk us through the journey, because I mean, it's always interesting where people come from and where they end up. Because, you know, to be honest, I had a Google before. Of course, you know, I did a little bit of research just so I look good in Dave's eye, that I actually do a bit of work. So he pays me, right? Okay. So I went through, and I'm then thinking to myself, I'm looking at your name, looking at the company, I'm thinking, how on earth did he score this job? I mean, where's all that come from? So
let me shed some light on it. Right? It's something that will, you know, I'll pass this story down, and hopefully for generations to come, it will continue. Yep. But you know, let's start a little bit about, you know, TrafficGuard and how that came about, and then I'll tell you how I became a CEO. So our product TrafficGuard was actually, you know, born out of desire, right, from an adjacent business that we ran, which is that ad tech network. We needed to solve an internal issue that we were experiencing with ad fraud. And we tried like a bunch of different anti-fraud solutions out in market, like billion-dollar firms. We tried them. Nobody could solve the issue that we were having. So, you know, we tried to solve it ourselves, essentially. So we did the traditional things that you do, like when there's a problem, you go down to the root cause analysis. You know, you create a hypothesis, you build a proof of concept, like, you know, you break that proof of concept as much as you can to make it better. And then, you know, we realized that at that point in time, we had something extremely special. Now, from there, we spoke to a number of advertisers around the world. And, you know, we asked them for feedback, like, what would you want to see in a good anti-fraud provider? So we took that feedback, and then we, you know, we scaled out that product a little bit more to create a minimum viable product. And then we built a team of, you know, data scientists and software engineers, right? Like a lot of these guys who have come to work for TrafficGuard have, you know, moved interstate or moved country to come and like follow us on this journey. And then from there, when I knew I had the team, I laid the path for commercialization. You know, did the typical things, SWOT analysis, what does the next 3 years look like? And then it's at that point where the board of directors had asked me to oversee a 3-year commercialization plan. Now, 14 months into commercialization, I'm very proud to say that we have global unicorns, billion-dollar firms that are using our product. And at this point in time, we have a record amount of companies in the pipeline moving their way through to becoming paying customers. And that's the story of how I actually became a chief executive of TrafficGuard.
So just to follow up on that, TrafficGuard itself, did you build it from the ground up, or was it something that you come across and you've just decided to expand on it?
From the ground up, from the very get-go, we created that hypothesis. Okay. And then we started just to build out a little, you know, POC. And then from there, it went crazy.
And when did you come up with that? How long is it obviously taking you from the initial concept to where you are right now? How long has that taken?
So about 4 years so far, from the day that we locked everybody in a room till now. But it's really based on 10 years of being, you know, in digital in general, right? 10 years of digital data. If you're using machine learning and AI, you know, you're going to need a hell of a lot of data to make it, quite strong. So okay. Built on 10 years of data, but the actual product in itself has taken 4 years to build.
And of course, that's going to be an ongoing type thing where you're going to keep building it out. So
yeah, every day.
All right. Dave, we're going to need you here as well, because we're going to go to the next question, which requires your expertise, and that is put a slide on.
I must be honest, I just love the way Matt is a young CEO. And,
yes.
You know, I remember my father always said the world is about young people, not old people. So that's me and you've nearly gone now, Wolf. But it's all about young people that understand modern technology. And I think it's just refreshing to see a young head, a young face, and a different way of looking at things. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. To be honest, Matt, when it comes to technology, sometimes I am really lacking. You know, me and Dave are a little bit probably older than most CEOs of tech companies. And sometimes the technology is a little bit hard to understand. So can you please, in simplified terms, just explain to us what TrafficGuard exactly does and how it actually works?
Sure. So TrafficGuard is the world's first full funnel and cross-channel anti-fraud and analytics platform. So like we really sit across all digital marketing channels, whereas traditional players sit in particular silos, right? So like at TrafficGuard, we sit across mobile advertising spend to ensure that, clients like, Uber or EA Games or Rovio or anyone, mobile led are not paying for fake installs, right? So that's where we sit across mobile. And then we sit across desktop and display to ensure that, our clients not paying for fake clicks on their ads. So every time that someone clicks on an ad, it's costing the advertiser money. Now, with 50% of the internet's traffic being bot driven, bots are sitting there clicking on your ads, scraping your website, having a look at all your content, selling it to competitors. Like all these kind of things happen on an everyday basis, like every single second in digital, this is happening. So we've stopped that from occurring. And then we sit across programmatic channels to ensure that you're not paying for fake impressions. So every time you see an ad, for example, if 50% of the pixels are shown, the advertiser is paying for it. And then we sit across pay per click, which is PPC. So your traditional channels like Google search, right? When you're Googling something and it comes up as an ad. So, the benefit of sitting across all of those channels is that we can service a single client across all those channels, right? So the companies that TrafficGuard are dealing with at the moment, like all of the ones coming into trial at the moment, like they're major NASDAQ listed firms, right? They're major conglomerates. And when they talk to me, they're saying like, Matt, like we're spending money on every single digital channel, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars that we're spending across mobile, desktop, pay-per-click, programmatic. So with us, they get one vendor, right? Sitting across all of those channels being protected.
Right. Okay. Makes perfect sense. So that's fantastic. All right. So the next part then, Dave, maybe you want to...
Yeah, could Matt you just explain a little bit clearly too? Because for me, the important thing is there's a massive problem out there, and I think moms and dads need to understand this. For companies, and we do a little bit equity story on Google and Google ads, and obviously maybe would be too small for you, I don't know, and maybe we should be using TrafficGuard. But all these companies that are advertising on Google and Google AdWords and through Facebook, whatever, explain the problem they've got. There's these bots now. Explain what bots are and why are they doing this, and why are they affecting people's advertising? Why are there these sort of how do you say entities out there making it very, very difficult for people trying to advertise on the internet?
Sure. So like, ad fraud is a lucrative market in general, right? Like there's ad fraud syndicate rings out there which have pumped a lot of money into research and development to earn money off of ad fraud. So there was a famous case over in New York. Like if you Google Eve, like 3VE ad fraud syndicate, you'll see that these guys were making $30 million a year from doing ad fraud, right? So let's say, for example, that you have like a big company, right? Like Uber. There's a famous case at the moment going on with Uber, where Uber was suing a bunch of ad networks for providing fake downloads, right? Now, the way that the money flows is Uber would go to an agency, right? Or the client would go to an agency. The agency would then go to the online world and they would say, hey, for every download that you get me, I'm going to pay you $1, right? So then the agency will go to like someone like yourself. If you've got a really popular website, for example, like I could come to you and say, Dave, I'm going to pay you $1 per download if I can advertise my banner on your ad, right? Because you've got a very popular website. There's a lot of traffic coming through. And each time that there's a download, I'm going to pay you $1. Now, if you were wanting to really monetize that, then you would basically set up a bot, right? And that bot would go to your website. It would click on the ad and download the app. And it would do it like 100 times a day. And then scaling 200 times a day, 300, 400. So the client's thinking like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like you've got the best website in the world. Until 3 months later, he's realized that my retention ratios are terrible. No one's using my app. there must be something seriously wrong with my offering, right? But the reality is that there's nothing wrong with your offering. You just got hit by ad fraud. So in the interim, you've probably paid away like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to all of these sources, and you're getting defrauded like every single day.
And this is a major problem for every business out there that's trying
no business that advertises online is immune from ad fraud, right? None. Okay. Like every single, like we've got over 3,000 clients that have signed up to our portal. Like nobody is zero. Like everybody's getting hit by this. It's $100 billion. It's forecast to be $100 billion problem by this time next year.
Really, and I suppose the problem is it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and as more countries come online. And
yeah, I mean, the reality is that, you know, with COVID, like a lot of these companies have come online, right? And they are not immune to ad fraud, and they have no idea about it until they sign up with TrafficGuard and their eyes light up.
Wow,
it's amazing.
All right, so that sort of takes us to the next point, and now that we sort of get an idea exactly how TrafficGuard works, can we just talk a little bit about the business model, please, Matt?
Sure. So, like, there's two products that we offer, right? So one sits across Google. So for anyone that's using Google Ads, so we stop like competitors clicking on your ads, which you will ask me about in a minute, I'm sure. That always gets people going. So competitors clicking on your ads and bots clicking on your ads. So we stop that from occurring because that impacts your daily budget. Typically on those channels, we see around 15 to 20% of your budget is being wasted to that sort of activity. And the other product that we have sits across, all the other channels, which I spoke about before. So mobile, desktop, and programmatic. So typically, like when we bring a client on the Google side of things, we charge them between 1% to 2% of reported Google ad spend, right? So a lot of the companies that are on trial at the moment with TrafficGuard say they're spending like $1 million a month, right? So we would charge them between 1% to 2%, depending how many millions they spend. Now, obviously, over time, and as a result of having cleaner traffic, that client tends to spend more money in that particular channel. So even when we come out and we announce, you look at all of our announcements, we say that, the base fee is $10,000 a month, for example, which we have quite a few of them now. So even if we sign a $120,000 contract, that's just the minimum, right? Because as they start to scale, they still pay us more money. So that's on the Google side of things.
So in other words, the better you get at it, the better for you and the actual, the client of yours, because they tend to spend more because they're comfortable that there's obviously nothing going on.
Correct. I mean, you think about it, right? Like as a smart marketer, let's say, for example, you got $100,000 budget per month, which is a very tiny budget, but let's call it for mathematical sake. And 50% is spent in Google and 50% is spent in another channel.
Yeah.
But over time, if you're protected with TrafficGuard on this channel, but not this one, then you're going to take more money out of this channel and plug it into this channel that's protected by TrafficGuard because you're getting better returns. That's just like, it's human nature. You'll do that 9 out of 10 times.
Or maybe if you show them that, say, they're spending $100 here and $50 of that is fraud, and you can show them that this is, we can get it to maybe 90 to 100% or $100, then maybe they'll spend the whole, they know when they're wasting the 50, they might spend even more money on that, right?
Correct. And that's exactly what we're seeing, right? Like we've had some clients sign on for, say, $5,000 a month, only to spend $15,000 a month with us.
Okay.
Right? So that's on the Google side. And then on the mobile side, we charge, like similar, but we charge for the amount of data going through the TrafficGuard platform. So it could be that, we charge $10,000 a month for 2 million installs, right? So most of our clients are in hyper growth mode. They're heavily funded and they're spending a lot of money. So they're spending a lot of money on all those digital channels. So typically our enterprise clients range from around about $10,000 a month to around about $20,000 a month.
So just to get the model right, then if you're taking, say, 1% to 2% of the ad spend from the companies, is there any other bits and pieces that come through the revenue side of the business model, or is that's pretty much how you've structured your business?
that's pretty much how we've structured our business at this stage. Like, of course, we will start to release like certain functionalities which people have to pay for. So we're working on that, through our freemium user base, which I'll talk about a little bit later.
Matt, that leads us very nicely to this slide where maybe you could just explain this, where this is your competitors. So here we've got a first slide, which is the world's, it says obviously TrafficGuard, the world's first full funnel and omni-channel platform. And now these are the competitors, because maybe you could explain a little bit here, Matt, all these competitors and why you're so different.
Yeah, sure. So it was, as I was saying before, right? Like, the reality is that TrafficGuard sits across multiple different channels, right? Whereas the guys that you're seeing on the screen only sit in one channel. So we don't really see these clients, or we don't really see these firms as competition per se. So let's say, for example, if you have a competitor in PPC, right? Like, they can only help a client if they are spending money in Google. That's it. If they're spending money on mobile, which a lot of clients are, they can't help them. Yeah, so there's no cross-pollination between the slides or between the silos, as you can see. So as I was saying before, right, like, a lot of firms these days, like especially the companies that TrafficGuard are dealing with, they're spending money across all channels. And if are
you the only player then that does all the fields?
That is correct. We are the only player that does all of the fields, which is why, we have a bursting pipeline at the moment. Because if you were to be fully protected, right, if you're spending, say, $100 million a year across all these different channels, that means if you were to be fully protected, you would have to employ 4 or 5 different vendors who don't speak to each other, who have different platforms, who don't work in sync, and they have very different definitions of what fraud is, right? Like, the other difference is that a lot of those guys, like, the feedback that we get from our clients is a lot of those guys are like black boxes, right? They say it's fraud because we say it's fraud. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't allow a client to scale. Yeah. So.
And how easy would it be for one of these competitors to copy what you've done with TrafficGuard and build something which would be across all platforms? How is that? Would that be very, very difficult? The technology that you've developed, is it sort of fairly unique, or?
For someone to do that, like, they would have to wake up at 4:45 every morning and go to bed at 10 p.m. every night, and they would have to lead a team of very dedicated data scientists and engineers.
4 years behind, right, Matt? 4 years behind, they are.
Yeah, are at least 4 years behind. And the reality is that, a lot of the firms that you see on the screen, like, they don't know what fraud looks like outside of their silo, right? We spent 4 years researching and developing this stuff. Like, it is an extremely hard thing to do. There's a lot of testing and a lot of money has gone into this, right? $30 million has been spent to fund the technology, of which, me myself, like, I've funded it a lot because I really believe in this. So reality is that it's extremely difficult to replicate TrafficGuard.
That's fantastic. That's unbelievable.
Dave, I've got look. It's interesting from that point of view, of course, because I know you've touched on just slightly on that freemium point, right? Which is, for me personally, I love the freemium model. I'm a gamer, right, from way back, the little Commodore 64 and so on, but I've progressed as I obviously got older. So for me, I just can't help myself. You go into freemium, yeah, it's all for free, but then there's little nice things happen, right? And you just got to go spend money. So I love the freemium model, but it's always the step up to being a frequent player, whatever, or in this case, of course, using the product versus a paying customer. So can you just go over, if you can, please, for us, Matt, of how this freemium model works and how you sort of trying to get those customers across to being paying customers?
Sure. So, like, our freemium model is designed for any company or any person that is spending money on Google specifically, right? It's purely for Google. Now, they get fraud detection, not prevention, fraud detection up to $2,500 of reported Google ad spend per month. It's free for life, right? Free for life. If you're spending over $2,500 a month, then it will stop until the next month, and then it will kick in again. Now, keeping in mind that there are tens of millions of businesses that use Google Ads to advertise. It's usually people's first point of advertising. So last year, there was $147 billion generated from Google Ads. Yeah. And for, as I was saying before, for most companies, it's their first point of advertising. So we have over 3,000 clients that have signed up to our freemium offering. And that's only a tiny fraction of the businesses that are out there globally. We've only launched it last year, right? So when we did launch it last year, we saw rapid growth in signups. And then when we saw people converting. But we use this as a way to see what functionality people are using within the portal, right? Like, where are they getting stuck? What reports do they download the most? What analytics are they looking at? What type of threats are they looking at? And what are they doing with this, with this information? And what changes are they making with this? So, and then we reach out to our freemium base and we get feedback on it, right? And then, once you have all of that, you then start to use marketing to drive that conversion ratio up. And that is what we're about to start, in January, February, and March. So Q1 calendar year of next year, we're going on a massive marketing push to push that conversion ratio as hard as we can. So it could be like an automated email, for example. So you could sign up to freemium, and it's an automated email after the first couple of weeks. And it could be something like, hey, I see that you're running in this particular industry, and I see that you're running an invalid traffic rate of, say, 20%, which equates to, say, $5,000. And then you're going to have a threat breakdown, right? So X amount of that 5,000 was spent on bots, X amount was spent on, people just clicking on your ads, like your competitors. Activate TrafficGuard now to prevent that from happening today, right? So for a lot of our clients, it's not just about the money wasted. It's about the opportunity cost of spending that $5,000 and generating real customers, which will spend real money with you. So it's like the lifetime value of those customers. So when you look at it that way, it's much more than a $5,000 problem.
Okay, look, it makes perfect sense. Like I said, I love the freemium model, and giving someone a taster makes perfect sense, right? They can see the value of it if obviously you can demonstrate it to them. So there's a couple of following up questions if I can. With the actual conversion rates themselves, presumably, first of all, what the conversion rates are and how far you can push it. How much do you think, what the ideal conversion rate could be, for example? And then second of all, how long does it take you from a freemium member on generally to become a paying customer?
Sure. So like when we first started launching this, we were banking on the fact that we would have between 2 to 5% conversion rate. And that's global standards across freemium users, right? So across freemium bases, across companies around the world, they average around about 2 to 5%.
Wow.
We average, it started off at around about 5 and then grew to 8 and then grew to say like 15. I think the highest month we've had is around about 17.5. But there's still massive room for improvement, right? Like this offering is extremely attractive to clients. Like think about it as a mathematical equation. If TrafficGuard is saving you 15% of your budget being wasted to bots and all this fraud, and it's only going to charge you between 1 to 2%, mathematically it's a very good offering. And if you can make better decisions with it, then that's even better. So that's why we're going on a massive marketing push next quarter to try and drive that. Where could it go? I'm not sure. I would be disappointed if it's below 20. But, again, that's 4 times the global average. So I would like to see it above 20%. And of course, like, as I said, like tens of millions of businesses around the world use Google. We've only got 3,000. We're only just starting our journey, right? Like we're going to be going on a massive sales and marketing push, over the next 2 quarters. And I expect that to increase quite dramatically.
Matt, your platform's got an extraordinary sort of advantage on other platforms that do what you do. So what help are you getting from Google to push your product to all their companies that advertise through them? Are they saying to you, hold on a second, this TrafficGuard is excellent, Matt. We really want to push this for you. I mean, what help are they going to give you? Because surely they've got the power, Google, to get you out in front of hundreds of thousands of companies.
Yes, correct. It's a good question, right? So let me first answer that question the same way I answered it to my staff, and that is, we have definitely not built our business to be solely reliant on Google, right? That's first and foremost. Being part of the Google Cloud Marketplace, which we've just entered in the past couple of weeks, has major benefits, and we're currently working with that particular go-to-market team to roll out TrafficGuard at scale, right? But it's not the only way we sell. It's just one way we sell. So currently we're working with the go-to-market team on producing case studies on TrafficGuard. So pre-TrafficGuard for clients, post-TrafficGuard for clients. So we're currently generating that now. Fireside chats with some of our leading customers like JD, and some of the betting companies that we've got on. So fireside chats on why you use TrafficGuard. So a lot of that stuff is actually funded by a Google agency. And then just creating one pages in general. So you can imagine, like, we're creating this content in this quarter. Next quarter, we will sit with the Google Cloud Marketplace sales reps. We will train them on TrafficGuard, and then they will start to sell on our behalf the TrafficGuard offering. So you can imagine, like, it's a third-party distribution, right? It's a channel partnership. In addition to that, like, we will, we'll obviously work with them about identifying some of the top 20 clients in each region, and then, those clients get, our direct sales force out there and nurture them through the pipeline. But, as I said, like, in addition, like, we have a direct sales force. So, like, just speaking about how we sell in general, Google is just one avenue, or Google Cloud Marketplace is one avenue. And then we also have a direct sales force who are, outbound. So they're taking around about 20 meetings a week. Here's some stats for you. 20 meetings a week, bringing around 70% of those meetings into trial, and 70% of those in trial go through to paying customers. They're actually the stats, as of this morning.
Tell me, the ones that don't go through to customers, why don't they come through? If it's obviously if it's saving them such a saving with all the bots, what's their big objection?
Yeah, sometimes it's just misalignment of goals. So some companies out there love to boast, massive downloads, right? Like, they love to boast massive downloads, and they don't care about all the other metrics. Like, very seldomly, by the way, like, a lot of these companies do care about the traditional metrics, especially if they're public and massive. Like, but other companies out there may just say, oh, we're actually okay with the headline numbers because we're priced on the amount of downloads that we have. Right? It could be that. Or it could be the fact that at this point in time in Q4 calendar year, we've already set our budgets for the next 6 months, but please come back to us in 6 months when we're, about to redo our budget. And unfortunately, like, there's no way around that. Or it could be, it could be any other thing. It could just be like, we have someone else and we're happy with that, and that's fine. All right. Like, we, a 7 out of 10 trial basis is really
still
good.
Very good. Yeah. You're always going to get that sort of personality difference, aren't you?
Correct.
But, so 70% is excellent.
Just since we're talking about Google, and apologies here, Matt, we might be jumping a little bit around with the questions.
Go ahead.
For you, but since we're on Google, I'm gonna ask the question because I'm gonna forget probably something. So you've told us that obviously Google is a very important part of TrafficGuard's business. Mm-hmm. Is it possible you tell us what the breakdown is of what sort of business are you getting out of Google itself with the spend? Is it majority of companies out there would possibly advertise with Google, and this is where your majority revenue comes from? Would they be correct in that assumption?
Maybe just repeat that question one more time.
Yeah, that's okay. So you obviously the companies out there will go out and spend money on advertising, right? Presumably, I'm thinking most of them would spend money through Google, right?
Yep.
So with your business, how it tries to ad prevent, presumably most of your revenues would come from the Google advertising from companies, correct?
It's at the moment, the split is around about 50-50.
Okay, 50-50.
Yeah.
In that case, the second part of my question would be then, is there a formal relationship with Google that you've got at the moment?
Yes, we have a formal relationship, as in like we are the only verification pay-per-click company that has entered the Google Cloud Marketplace, right? So by entering the Google Cloud Marketplace, essentially what that means is that if we were to sign a client that was spending money or using Google infrastructure, for example, or using Google Cloud, then we wouldn't have to go through legal, right? Because our terms and conditions are the exact same terms and conditions as Google. Like this product had to be vetted by the Google Cloud Marketplace for security vulnerabilities, for accuracy, all those kind of things.
Okay, so it's not an easy thing to just roll up and say, hey, I want to be with Google. Obviously, you have to go through a few hoops.
Yeah, it's taken TrafficGuard the better of 9 months to try and get, to where we are today with the marketplace.
All right. So on the flip side, then, if Google says, "Sorry, I'm not sure we're interested in this," is it difficult for them to say no, or is it something that they can't say no to? How is the relationship structured actually?
Well, being part of the marketplace, like you can only really get kicked off the marketplace if you're violating all the terms and services, right? Like that's the only reason why. Like, don't forget that, as I said before, like it's win-win for both, right? So if someone is spending money on Google or Google AdWords and they're generating better returns because they're using TrafficGuard as well, they're going to be spending more money with them, and that's what they want, right? Like a lot of the revenue that they have is coming from Google AdWords. Yep. Like, let's go and scale the hell out of that thing. Like we have a vested interest. Like both parties are working together here. So it's, our relationship with the marketplace is, extremely secure.
Look, that really puts me at ease, which is very, very, very good, because of my brain was going, well, relationship with Google. What happens if Google says, sorry, goodbye?
It doesn't break our business model at all. If that did happen, which, I don't think it will, I don't think it will at all. But if it did happen, then, as I said before, like we have not built our business to be totally reliant upon this relationship. We still have a direct sales force out there. We can still go after all those clients. An agency model as well. Like we're partnering with a number of agencies around the world. And how that happens is that, you go to Asia, for example, and you win some anchor clients like we have, like massive decacorns that we've won over there. Yep. Obviously, that budget is controlled by a certain agency, but that agency would have hundreds of clients that they manage money for. So as you start to win more and more clients that agency has, it's natural for the agency then to turn around to you and say, what sort of agency deal can we do where if I roll this out with 100 clients, like what sort of special pricing can we get? So we're doing like a number of those at the moment that we're in talks with.
Look, it's interesting. Look, for me, it definitely has eased a lot of concerns, which you just told me, which is good.
Good.
So I'm going to go to the next bit, which is also quite important for me, and that is looking, because I know you mentioned right at the beginning, we're talking about, huge marketing, global market spend is massive. So if I can go with you to a question on the market opportunity, the potential growth in your particular space, because I'm looking obviously the revenues of your company, right? It's small. I mean, you've just starting to monetize your TrafficGuard. So it's going to be a process, but for me personally, as a analyst looking at, we've been always looking at companies that are producing revenues and making profits and so on. It's sometimes going, I'm looking at small, thinking maybe a bit early for me. So can you just go over your market opportunity? What can we expect out there? And how you're going to achieve your goals?
Sure. So it's as I said before, right? First and foremost, ad fraud is set to cost advertisers $100 billion, right, by this time next year. So that's the market space in which we operate in. And by the way, like, it's my personal opinion that, you know, and it's TrafficGuard's opinion that we're only going to see that rate increase as more and more businesses come online. And as I said before, like, no one's immune from this. So, you know, we have $147 billion being spent on Google Ads. So that's a massive market for us. And that's just one product, right? The one product that we offer. And then you have hundreds of billions of dollars being put towards other channels, such as mobile to drive app installs, desktop to drive conversions, programmatic channels for brand awareness. And as we sit across all of them, every single client online is a target for us. So on our current run rate, we're around about 1.6 million in revenue, but that was really generated by 2 people. Right? Fun fact, 2 people generated 1.6 million in revenue for this company. And earlier this year, I've only really put on a structured sales force back in, you know, the first quarter of this calendar year. So January, February, March, we started recruiting some salespeople. And yet we're only just starting to see the impact of those salespeople coming on. So from June 30 till now, which is a very short space of time, we've increased revenue by 56% since June 30, right? So the traction is now starting to follow through. The foundations have been set. The company has been built for scale, and now we're starting to see that scale really starting to lift off. But obviously, as the new team kick into full swing, combined with a joined up sales and marketing approach and channel partner approaches and, you know, the Google Cloud Marketplace approach, this is a recipe for hyper growth, right? Like, that's what we're going for in this company, hyper growth, using all of those channels I just spoke about. So in terms of revenue, we don't make, you know, public forecasts of revenue, but hundreds of millions of dollars is easily possible in this market for something like TrafficGuard.
That was my sort of question, and I wasn't going to put you on the spot. I was going to play a little game with you. So, because we've got at the moment, you know, like you said, at 1.6 million annualized revenues.
Yep.
So my question was, okay, yes or no? Eventually, are you going to get 10 million? Is it possible? 10 million revenues?
Easily, we get 10 million.
Okay, 100 million.
Yes.
Okay, so this is an interesting exercise for me to project to, say, for example, potential investors out there, the incredible opportunity, I suppose, you've got here. That's, you know, out of 2 clients, you can start growing, but there's such a big market out there. I mean, pretty much every company will advertise on whatever medium they might choose to, right? From online to, like you said, mobile, whatever. So I can see now, I can see the light myself, the possibilities here, with the potential of revenue numbers being in the, not tens of millions, but possibly 100 millions, if, of course, you execute correctly. Things go well for you, your TrafficGuard takes off, and it's, of course, accepted as one of the best products out there. So am I right in an assumption that that is possible with Adveritas and TrafficGuard?
Yeah, it's highly possible with TrafficGuard, yes. Definitely.
Fantastic.
I told you, Wolf, but you didn't listen to me. No, I told you yesterday, this company's going to be good. You got to go.
Matty, I have to say, I'm a big skeptic, right? I talk to CEOs. I used to talk to CEOs a lot, but the problem with it is they're always going to tell you the good stuff, not the bad stuff, right? It is their number one thing. They want to sell the company, like, of course, you're doing right now for me, right? So I become very skeptical because I've heard so much. Yes, we're all good. We're all fantastic. We're all going to, make millions of dollars and billions of dollars, but most they don't.
Let me tell you why, and I agree, by the way, but let me tell you why I'm aligned with every single shareholder that's on the Adveritas register. Okay. To date, I have put in, of my own personal money, $3 million into this company. Okay. So as I said before, like, as a chief executive, you are the custodian of shareholder wealth. Okay? So when you take some shareholders' money, you need to spend it wisely. Now, the reason why I'm so excited for TrafficGuard is because we've laid those foundations for global growth, right? We haven't gone out and scaled massively because we were not ready. As a company, we didn't have the systems, metrics, protocols, or structures in place to go and scale. Now, I've seen a number of companies out there before, raising $20, $30 million, and you feel the need to go and spend it, right? But what happens when you don't have systems, metrics, structures, and protocols is you start spending, but you're not spending towards certain metrics, and you haven't got your KPIs aligned. And all of that money quickly goes, right? And you don't get a return on that. If you look at the past capital raisings of this company, we've done minimal capital raisings, right? 2-3 million at a time, because we're trying to get it right. The last thing that we wanted was to take $20-30 million, which we've had demand for in the past, and then have it there as lazy capital on the balance sheet. We don't want that. You would have caused a huge amount of shareholder dilution, and you would have had, a record amount of cash on the balance sheet, but you hadn't had the system ready for scale. Now, today, as I'm talking now, our foundations for growth are set. The channel partners are coming. Your direct sales force are now starting to have a material impact in your revenue line. Your retention ratio of clients are good. Your chief marketing officer is starting in Q1. Your freemium base is extremely strong. So all of these kind of things is what governs TrafficGuard.
Very, very impressive, I have to say.
Wolf, do you have any more questions?
Look, I'm probably the last one. This is going to be probably not left field, but something we haven't talked about. But I always like to ask the question because I just want to see where the CEO is coming from and your biggest risks moving forward in the near term. Where do you see that? Where do you see the potential obstacles coming through?
I gotta tell you, I am a bit stumped. Not that there's not obstacles, but it's just that 24 months ago, like we looked at these obstacles, and the number one obstacle was, are we too early, right? Is the market ready for this product? But I think that by attracting global unicorns and decacorns using this product, you've got that validation point. So that's your first tick. It could just be that we don't get our sales force correct, right? It could just be that, or it could be that the channel partnerships are not as quick as what we expected. But again, like we've mitigated that by putting the systems, metrics, and structures in place to make sure that we look at these things every single day. So I can't really see too many things that are standing in our way. Like from a direct sales force perspective. It could be that a lot of the contracts are tied up in legal, right? It could be that because the whole sales cycle of TrafficGuard from a direct sales force point of view is say about 3 months, but the trial with TrafficGuard lasts 2 weeks. All the rest is tied up in legal and procurement, but by going through the Google Cloud Marketplace, you essentially wipe those away. So I don't want to sound like, I'm oblivious to this, but I think that we have taken care of a lot of the obstacles that we saw in the way, 12, 24 months ago.
Okay. Look, a fair answer. Absolutely. I mean, you have, you've gone through the hard yards, laying down the foundation, so to speak. So it should be a little bit obviously easier. So really, it's now a matter for me, when you're talking about your company, it's really a matter of sales now, really, right? It's getting those freemiums and converting them to paying customers.
Yeah, so getting the freemium, converting them into paying customers, converting all the enterprise level clients. Like, as I said before, a record amount of enterprise level clients are currently in trial with TrafficGuard. Okay. They're big clients, they've got big potential. I think I released something the other day saying that, the conversion of the enterprise clients to paying is quite material for us. Obviously, shareholders will start to see that coming through.
Fantastic. Well, Dave, have you got anything else to add? Throw something at Matty. Something. Come on.
You know what? I think Matty is great. I think he's going to be Australia's Elon Musk one day. I just want Matty to remember us, right, when he's in this massive building and he's a billionaire. You know, when we're outside Wolf and we're sort of we're still selling, giving leaflets around, trying to get people to join Equity Story. Matt, don't forget us, mate. Just remember.
How can I forget you when you're about to sign up to TrafficGuard?
We will.
How can I forget you?
Smooth. I like that sales pitch already. That's good. Dave, taking notes?
We are definitely going to do TrafficGuard because I mean, why wouldn't we? We put money on that. We do the Google and Google ads and.
Matty, I tell you one thing: Dave is a tighter, so it's going to be very difficult to turn him from a freemium into a paying customer.
No way. I'm definitely. I don't know if Matt, with our advertising, they have to give us their telephone number, and that's helped us get a few less of those, I think, bots.
Is that if there's clicking on your ads, that's it. Yeah, the bot has generated money. So it's you're not immune. I told you before, no company is immune. Sign up to TrafficGuard. Let me prove it to you, David.
All right, we'll sign up, but you can't let Motley Fool do it, okay?
No, definitely not.
We got to ban them. Let Equity Story.
No, they can go to somebody else.
Don't worry. I'm sure Motley Fool will join you as well because it's a great product, and we're just having a joke. On that note, I'm really excited about this company moving forward, and do you know what? It's so good to see this young CEO driving what is an exciting business. It's so refreshing for us, Matt, and someone has got. I think young people got all the energy in the world, and but my only advice to you, I mean, maybe don't burn yourself out too soon.
I have a lot of energy left in the tank. Trust me.
All right.
Dave, I think at his age, I think should have lots of drive. We passed the hill, of course, so much harder for us. But I also love the fact that you are aligned, like you said. You have your own money into this company, so it's very, very important from my point of view. Having skin in the game. As I know, being a fund manager, show us the money. Well, I'm going to show you where my money's going to go in. It's exactly the same thing. So it's good to see that.
All right.
I mean, I've got a lot of money in this. My family's got a lot of money in this. Our top shareholders who are extremely close to me have a lot of money in this. So, we're fully aligned to get this going. And as I said, the custodian of shareholder wealth is right here, and I'm aligned. So let's make this happen is the attitude in this company.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Matty. Hopefully we'll obviously chat at a later time.
Definitely.
Done a year sometime. So thank you so much again. And Dave, have you got anything else to add?
Yeah, no, we'd love to just follow this on in 6 months, Matty, to see where you're at.
Thank you very much, David and Peter.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.